It's from long ago. There's an evil that's been dreaming, but now it's softly screaming. From the darkness, their power will grow. Their voices are made of poison. When you listen, you are sure to be disturbed. You can lock your doors. You can say your prayers. No creature can resist their wicked words. Never mind, no need to worry. That's all just a story of the whispers of the old gods.
Welcome back, everyone, to the StarLadder SLI League StarSeries Season 2. I am Noxious, and with me is Firebat for the final match of the day. It is going to be determining who's going to be moving on from the last chance bracket. One of the two players will be sad at the end of it. It was a long day for them, and how do you feel, Firebat? Like, when you climb up through something like a last chance bracket, would you rather go out early or on the last match?
I would much rather go out on the last match.
Okay.
I love playing. Competing, that's the whole reason I would sign up for an event, is to play as much as possible, get as much stream time as possible, things like that. So it's more beneficial in general. Get seen. There's a lot of viewers here, a lot of fans. So you got to show off your skills as long as possible, right? And make the fans happy.
Yeah. So in this case, I'm pretty sure streaming-wise, StanCifka does a lot less than Kolento, so there might be more God Lento fans in the chat than anything else. But StanCifka has been putting up a fight with everybody today. He did beat Kolento earlier, 4-2, and then Kolento was knocked down to the losers bracket, climbed back up, beating Oskaka in the process, was also knocked out alongside Kranich. So it's down to these two guys, and we'll figure out which of them ends up staying around. The Rogue was banned again for StanCifka,
and the Warlock again.
Same exact ban, which makes a lot of sense, despite the information war.
Yeah, same bands, same players as before. You got to expect similar results, so you have to be favoring StanCifka. He's smiling, feeling good about the matchup, feeling good about the situation. He's done this before. This literally happened 2 games ago. StanCifka was able to take it 4-2 over Kolento. So the rematch here with the same bands, can Kolento do something different, change the results around?
Yeah, one of the big things that I think StanCifka is one of those players that everybody knows the name of, but we don't see him too much. He doesn't stream. He doesn't produce any, YouTube content. We don't see articles coming from Cifka. He's just a player who's got a tremendous amount of practice time overall. He will spend 12, 13, 15 hours a day practicing Hearthstone, doing nothing but that. And it really shows. His understanding of the metagame, him and probably the G2 guys he practices with Super JJ as well in the same practice group, they've been putting a ton of crunch time. And StanCifka is getting the good results here.
Yeah, but Kolento, no slouch either, though. We see him keep the Savannah High main there against what he knows is the Cthulhu Warrior.
Good idea there.
It's pretty good idea, yeah. Savannah High main is a problem for their deck, and they don't tend to do too much in the early game. And your early game cards even are not that great against their cards. If they have the Fiery War Axe, your 2-drops don't really do anything. The Disciple of the Cthuns can clean up your 2-drops. So just makes more sense just to make sure you have the pressure cards for the key turns that they can't really remove.
Yeah, it's one of the things I love about Cthulhu decks is they play the essential cards, Disciples and Cthulhu's Chosen. Because in many cases, what those two allow you to do is 2-for-1 against people. The Divine Shield guy, 4-2, trades up super well against just about everything. And you can always complement it with a Slam, with a Bash in the later stages of the game. And it's really difficult as Hunter to hope that to expect your 2-drops to stick. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, StanCifka is mulling over the decision. Like No, but the thing that StanCifka does, and I think that's common to a lot of the players that he practices with, is what are the possibilities? So he thinks a lot earlier in the early stages of the game, and then has most of the other turns mapped out as they come up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just gives you more time to think when you need it a little bit later on in the game. So
yeah, it's one of those things. You remember Life Coach playing Patron? First 2 turns, 30 minutes it seemed per turn, and then the rest of the game was a snapped play. Didn't even think for a second and a half, just played everything on autopilot. It seems like the entire match, the match plan is just figured out at that stage, which is great to see.
Probably see Carrion Grub come down.
Yeah, it gives you the opening for the coin stampeding Kodo on the following turn, or you keep the coin for high main on 5, which puts a ton of pressure on your opponent.
Yeah, you think it's ever worth it for StanCifka to shield slam this Carrion Grub?
Cthulhu decks would be inclined to do it more often than not, I think. I mean, you still have Slam plus Disciple on 5, followed by the Emperor on 6. So I think there's like the fact that you cycle with the shield block is good enough for that Emperor.
Yeah, I don't totally hate shield block, shield slam here. It's just it keeps your 2/1 around, and it plays around the threat of Houndmaster, so you just don't have to worry about it anymore. Sure, it's a really precious removal tool, but you have a lot more removal in your hand with the slam and the Disciple of Cthulhu, things like that.
Yeah, so Kolento here has the option of going for Coin Kodo, but let's be honest. If he goes for that play without a Houndmaster, I feel like it's putting him in a bit of a weaker spot than getting the high main out earlier than later.
Well, he does have the Eaglehorn Blow.
Tracking, or yeah.
Yeah, or tracking. Tracking to find the minion to play, or Eaglehorn Bow plus Quick Shot to be able to remove anything that StanCifka plays. Even a Bloodhoof Brave would fall victim to that, or the Disciple, or not Disciple, the Cthulhu's Chosen.
Cthulhu's Chosen would also be, exactly. So this is mostly to be proactive. Again, like the high main is going to come out naturally. I would have expected him to keep the coin for the high main and go for more of a bow play, and then you develop either the Kodo naturally next turn or coin high main.
Yeah, wouldn't have hated that either. It's just the GC value there. I think seeing the shield slam maybe made him go with this decision a little bit more.
I think that's probably what happened here. Is he saw shield slam, so he's thinking Kodo might just stick around for a long time because he needs War Axe, Slam, Disciple alongside a Bash, for instance, on turn 6, which is just not something you'd expect to see.
Yeah, you know there's no War Axe because StanCifka would have War Axed plus traded his 2/1 to kill your Carrion Grub. So assuming that there's no War Axe, it means the Kodo is pretty difficult to remove without another shield slam or an execute. So I like the play by Kolento, just identifying that there's no War Axe and knowing that it's going to be clean. And second Savannah High Main seems like a pretty good pick off that.
Yeah, he's going to slow down his turn right now, but he can develop the bow right away to prepare for later. The issue with playing the bow, I guess, is if there's a Harrison Jones at StanCifka's deck, which we fully well know there is, then you're leaving yourself vulnerable to giving him 2 card draws. So you might have to exhaust one of the charges.
And we see him go for it. He just bows the face here. Doesn't want to play too much into that Harrison Jones, but if Harrison Jones does come out, not only does it take a card, it contests the Savannah High Main as well, because Harrison Jones has 5 attack.
Right, I mean, 2 high mains, 2 Calls of the Wild. Kolento's late game is covered. The issue is you do have to deal with that Emperor Thorson before you do anything else, and if you give him too many triggers, then you really need to put him on the back foot with these high main back-to-back. So he's going to be playing the most aggressive mid-range hunter late game I've ever seen, I think, at this stage.
Yeah, high main into high main.
Can't slow down. You can't slow down at this stage.
And StanCifka just has unlimited Emperor procs going into this.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't care. He's just going to put down all the minions in the world. He gets himself extra armor with shield block. He's got the brawl in case things go wrong. I mean, at this point, that Emperor is putting in work for StanCifka.
Yeah.
That is insane.
That is
insane!
Oh
man.
I guess you trade the high main?
You kind of have to. 2/2s do take out, the Divine Shields or kill one of the 4/2s, but I'll be damned if that ever feels good.
Yeah, this seems so ugly. StanCifka's kind of the aggressor here. He could honestly, shield block, try and cycle into something, and maybe just throw out all of his minions and go face spray.
I like that. I mean, that seems like a fire bat play.
Yeah, you kill off one of the 2/2s, you jam down your 6/6, and you punch your opponent in the face rate. It does not seem bad.
Well, Blood to Ichor lets you pop the Hyman if you really want to at this stage. You can always use one of the shields, but you're exposing your minion to a 2/2, so you might have to trade the other one in. I think the more aggressive play is the better one here. Kolento tried to be the most aggressive of the 2 players, and the Call of the Wild might let him do so. But for the time being, StanCifka's got the options.
Yeah, I really like this play.
It seems like the best one.
Yeah, forcing your opponent to have to trade into you feels pretty good.
I mean, barring Unleash the Hounds for Kolento, which we know he plays.
2 of, yeah.
Yeah, there's a possibility that the Unleash comes out and just ruins your day, but besides that, I mean...
He's going to hold back the 6/6. Okay. He's trying to set up a brawl for the following turn, it looks like.
So, do you expect Kolento to just go on full aggression and stick to his guns? Play Call of the Wild and just go full? Because the Stampeding Kodo finally picks off something here. If he wants to use it with a deadly shot, let's say. That's 2 minions out the way, keeps the high main up. If he uses the bow and the 2/2.
Okay, yeah, you use the Kodo, clear the board with the deadly shot. Not too bad. You get a high main and a Kodo on uncontested board. It's not terrible. You can
Yeah, I
call
mean,
the
it's
wild
kind of
go
difficult to
face.
figure out. So, I mean, the thing is, one of these players can go face and the other can't. The question of, like, from their perspective, they're both allowed to do it. They both feel like going face is probably the correct play here, but I don't know. The possibility of Brawl, the possibility of Unleash is keeping both of them on their toes.
Yeah.
Alright, there's gonna be quick shot Kodo, or quick shot Bow and Kodo trade anyway. And you trade with the high main to kill the 4-2. Yeah.
Interesting.
Keeps a deadly shot for Cthulhu.
Yeah, I think Kolento is really afraid of Cthulhu at this point. StanCifka's aggressive play style
Oh,
and just
no.
pushing so much face damage shows that maybe there's a Cthulhu in his hand and he's trying to set up a lethal with it. So Kolento playing a bit defensively around the potential Cthulhu and holding on to the deadly shot for it.
So do you just Brand and gain 20 armor? Or do you not gain 20 armor and instead play Blood to Ikir,
I
pop the
think
high
you
main, and
can-
then Brand and Ghoul and kill the high main stuff?
I think you want to gain 10 armor and hero power, or just hero power pass, and then the following turn, if your opponent develops anything else onto the board, like a Call of Wild, for example, you can go Brawl, Bran, and Ghoul, and clear off the entire board, giving yourself a 2-2 and a 3-3, and your opponent no minions at all.
Yeah, your 2-2 is also a bit of an issue because it does give you potential to get, say, Twin Emperors or a Cthulhu that doubles up. So it is still a big threat. And
like
he
he's
is
gonna
going to opt. Pop the minion. Does he play Brand just now, though? That's the question. I'm not sure.
It looks like he's just going to gain 10 in armor. I like this. I like this a lot. It's
kind
just
of a
setting up for
hybrid
his
between
Brawl.
both plays. Exactly. Same idea. Like the long game plan is the same as you mentioned, which is Brawl, then wipe everything off the face of the earth.
Yep. And Kolento feels like he just needs to put pressure on the board, so he goes with the Call of the Wild here. It's going to be met by a Brawl.
He's not wrong. He has to put pressure, but the second Call of the Wild lets him continue that pressure. The fact that he staggers them on 9 and 8, on 9 and 10, gives him the ability to play a little bit more on the back of this too.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see StanCifka just armor here. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds pretty
think-
reasonable. Good to see the Execute come out. I mean, what's left in that deck? The issue is that Ghoul and the Brand just seem so tasty together.
Yeah, exactly. I think he wants to keep those tied together, and be able to activate, execute, take care of the Huffer, the second Call of the Wild. And
But the
pick
thing
away at
is,
the
if you
board.
do that, then the 4-4 just stays there for an unknown amount of time, right? Like, you
Yeah.
have no idea how long that stays there. And if you play this, then you're still forcing him to find a way to deal 4 damage to your Brand.
Well,
Kolento's looking
StanCifka
good
really
here.
needs to try and find Cthulhu. If he's unable to find Cthulhu anytime soon,
Uh-oh.
he's going to have a hard time here, because Kolento has so many cards up against StanCifka's 0-card hand. So,
And that Ghoul is the only one here on the board to contest the Misha, the Leog, and the 4-2 leftover. Cthulhu could automatically win, but even then, Deadly Shot's a thing.
Mhm. And Beckoner of Evil is not what you want to see at StanCifka. There's such a low-impact card for this stage of the game, and he has so much life, but just no cards to work with.
So here's a question. How much, like, how big is Cthulhu? I think it's a 14-14 right now, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be 16. So, Kolento being on 11, the odds of killing him through whatever board he's got at that stage is just not good enough yet. So you'd have to find at least a War Axe to push a tiny bit more on the back of that.
Well, what StanCifka can do is just pass here, hold back the Beckoner of Evil, and try and bluff that it's Brawl, maybe? Or some sort of high-impact card to force Kolento to try and play around AoE and not go all face, which then buys him more time to try and find Cthulhu, and
I like that play a lot. I think that might be one of his best outs, funny enough.
yeah, just roping here and pretending like you're thinking about a Brawl, and maybe pick it up, put it down, think about playing it, and then try and make Kolento think it's a Brawl. But no, he does have to
16-16.
just throw it out there. But
Yeah, so by reducing the amount of health on those minions too, he's improving the value of that Cthulhu if it gets found off the top. He's got about 3 draws, I think, before he's completely out of options. Because that health stack is keeping him alive for now.
double infested wolf to be able to play around Brawl quite nicely is pretty cool.
That is evil.
I was really hoping to try and find a Leok there to make these trades a little cleaner, so unable to find it, just gonna punch you all face. 2/3
Remove
can
all
trade
the
into
armor
5/1, but
as much
it's
as
not too
possible.
bad.
Peel off this garrosh.
Oh my god!
Unbelievable! But Kolento has the infested wolf. The only issue is you saw him shake his head there. He knew that this was a complete disaster. But there's still 6 damage on board. We can't just shrug it off. There's no more brawls either, so it boils down to Cthulhu coming out, it feels.
Kolento getting back-to-back Unleash draws off this is not very good. Unleash doesn't do very much when your opponent has absolutely no cards to play, so this Unleash is kind of punishing him a little bit here.
Yeah, one of the worst draws for StanCifka would be a War Axe. That must sting a bit. The upside of the War Axe is that it thins out the amount of... it increases the amount of damage your Cthulhu can do on the following turn, but that is about it.
Yeah. Has Kolento played Harrison Jones yet? Sometimes that's a tech card hunters have played.
I haven't seen it in this deck yet. If he plays it, then it hasn't come out this match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think he can fit it in there with 2 Unleash the Hounds. It seems unreasonable, so...
I think I might have seen Ooze somewhere, though. I forget where that was.
It was in the N'Zoth
Probably in
Paladin.
the N'Zoth Paladin. Yeah, N'Zoth Paladin was running it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Fiery War Axe will try to clean up. So the Ghoul can clean up the 1 health minions left over. Hellmaster would kind of hurt StanCifka, but there's 1 left in that list.
There's no brawls left, so Kolento can just throw everything onto the board. You've seen all of the cards from StanCifka's Warrior in previous series, so we know there's no revenges in it, I believe.
Yeah, we haven't seen any of that, so if they're there, they've been hiding themselves at the bottom of the deck quite well, and I think we've seen the entire deck earlier. Another bad card, but this, like, it sounds ridiculous, but this card right here, I wonder if it gives the Cthulhu just enough damage to push through for a guaranteed lethal. We're looking at 8 on board, 11 health.
It's 1 off of
So
being
it's
a
one
guaranteed
off.
lethal.
Right, it's 1 off of being guaranteed lethal, and if trades are made anywhere, wait, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, that's GG. Right?
That is 13 damage with the Unleash the Hounds
Unleash the
pushing
Hounds.
the 1.
Unleash the 1 hound and win the game. StanCifka looked absolutely amazing at the beginning of the match, but as the turns passed and these Beckoners came up a bit too late in the game, you know, I really thought that Emperor Thorson Double Tick was going to carry him completely.
Yeah, he just ran out of resources. Maybe there was some way in the earlier stages of the game where he could have spaced his resources out a little bit more. Like, his brawls got so much value, but his Cthulhu's Chosens and things like that didn't actually accomplish much besides face damage. And then he had no way to capitalize on that face damage at the end of the game because he never found the Cthulhu. And he ended up just
still like
not...
the play he made either way, but it's one of those things where it didn't have any follow-up.
Mm-hmm. He just ran out of cards because his cards weren't trading efficiently against Kolento's. Like, Brawl went 5 for 1, but he killed his own, like, minions in the Brawl as well, and it ended up getting kind of weird.
Kolento playing his warrior. Looks like Fierce Monkey coming out, so I don't think we've seen Kolento's warrior just yet.
Yeah, we have yet
I think
to
it got
see it.
banned earlier.
Mm-hmm. It's gotten banned, or he hasn't played it in the series where he's lost, and it appears to be a tempo warrior. Maybe it's a patron warrior like Oskaka was running, but most of the time players tend to lean towards the tempo warrior, and tempo warrior has a lot better matchup against Reno Warlock than patron warrior does, because instead of playing those patrons out and getting swept by AoE, you punch them in the face. That's what your cards are more designed to do, so you set yourself up in a better position to rush them down and try and cheese out victories.
Yeah, StanCifka does have the Reno Jackson in hand already, though, so that will be a safeguard. That warps the way he'll play the game, and that'll give him a huge cushion to sit back on.
Yeah. Typically speaking, it's a Reno Warlock favored matchup, but it is still possible for Temple Warrior to win. Usually they win when the Reno Jackson can't be found, so it's going to be a lot harder for Kolento to find a win here, but sometimes you can connect some big battle rages and make things happen.
All right, so here's a question to you. Would you ever consider going Brand Coin Soulfire? Because that Drake is huge, or is Execute just going to deny your game plan anyway? Because there's the obvious boring play where you sacrifice
I
Arcseer.
don't think you want to play Brand here. I don't think you want a Soulfire either.
That hand is too good to keep going. Like, it's basically a handlock hand.
Yeah, you can coin Twilight Drake and contest. That's option 1. Option 2, I think, is you play out maybe Earthen Ring Farseer, or you tap and play out the coin, or I guess maybe you do just Soulfire, and then you can try and get out the Mountain Giant with the tap on the following turn, or tap Soulfire and then get the Mountain Giant on 4 without squeezing in the extra tap is also good.
So Kolento's decision to play the Fierce Monkey was obviously to bait out Shadow Bolt or Soulfire before he played Frothing, so that it had a higher chance of surviving, which is very well done by him.
Yeah, definitely want to make sure that Frothing's as sticky as possible, and it seems to work out. Now Twilight Drake's going to come down to face off this. Playing Twilight Drake first also checks for execute, things like that, because you want your Giant to be stickier, and it allows you to squeeze in an extra tap with the Giant, because it costs 5 now. StanCifka's natural draw makes it cost 4. He has 5 mana, he taps and then plays the Giant.
Yep, the upside of finding the Ghoul here is that you enable the execute. Of course, your board is vulnerable to Hellfire, but that is acceptable. You are curving into Cairn. You do have the Arati Weaponsmith to re-weapon up if needed somewhere in the mid-game, and Grom at the top end. The only issue is card draw. Without any Battle Rage, Acolyte of Pain, Kolento is going to be starving for options very soon. We saw that happen to Oskaka earlier, playing the Patron list. He still got smothered in card advantage.
Yeah. It's tough sometimes when you don't find those card draws, but Kolento does have a lot of damage. If Tab Giant comes out, that's 7 damage on Kolento's board, 3 with the War Axe, making it 10, and if it's a Tab Giant, it's another 2 damage right there, and then Kolento's looking at just finding 10 more damage to be able to close out this game with a board that does 10 damage. So we do see StanCifka too afraid to play the Giant, and he just goes for the Coin Sylvanas play, trying to slow Kolento down. I like this play a lot.
I think it's going to work out most of the time. On the flip side, Kolento does have the Cairn Bloodhoof to go on the back of this, so he does lose his board. My question to you is there ever a point where Kolento pushes damage, lets the Sylvanas do her thing, then on the following turns goes for the trades? Because Sylvanas could not technically, like, there's no guarantee that it ends up dying, but he could steal your Frothing by making, you know, funky plays.
Yeah, I don't think you can risk it. I think you have to just...
I see.
Since you have Karen, right? If you didn't have great minions to develop that turn, maybe go all face and try and just let the Sylvanas be around. But you have like the best minion to play on 6 in your entire deck, so might as well trade the board in and just get your big minion down.
All right, the Giant does come out a bit later than expected. There's a Faceless to hit that thing. There's also still the brand that's there to be used with Earthen Ring Farseer later on, Dark Peddler, which is amazing. One thing to note for those of you who might have not seen the deck earlier, but there is no Leroy Jenkins Power Overwhelming combo in the list. So it's not trying to burst down anyone. It's very much about grinding the opponent. And that means that StanCifka, with no burst, relies on those big minions to play a handlock type game and eventually starve his opponent.
Yeah. Kolento smacking the Giant, trying to set up to be able to kill it the following turn with some of his minions and maybe another weapon hit even. He knows there's no burst in the deck, like you said, so being very aggressive with his weapon charges, and he's like, well, if you're not playing burst, it's just weapon down 8/8s.
Yeah. There's really no fear of losing to that kind of stuff. Now, StanCifka has the option of removing the Cairn through a Silence play. The issue is you leave so much damage up. You'd have to Farseer yourself to be safe. You don't have Sun Fury. Do you just Reno in a spot like this one? Or is it still too early?
Well,
do you ever attack the Cairn and the Shadow Flame?
How safe do you really have to play is the question you gotta ask yourself. And your opponent's max burst, generally speaking, would be 2 Core Crowd Elites on this turn because they can't activate Grom yet, or it would be a Rag, so it's like 8 damage is the max you have to play around. There's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on the board, and you can reasonably assume they're going to have 4 burst instead of 8. 2 Core Crowns is probably unreasonable to assume.
Even Rag is, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so 15 is what you got to play around. So removing the Karen puts you above that threshold, so...
Barring Inner Rage with Grom, you're usually very safe, so... And Inner Rage would be played in Patron list, which Kolento... I am not too sure is playing that.
Yeah, so I don't think you have to Reno. I think you can go for this line, squeeze in a tap with Reno the following turn. It seems fine to me.
Alright, there's the potential Battle Rage you can get 2 cards out of.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you want to go for that, or do you just Grom and try to trigger... Because the downside of Grom is, of course, that it dies to Siphon Soul, it dies to Twisting Nether. There's a lot of things it dies to, so if you push full phase damage, you're in a world of hurt.
Yeah, it dies to Faceless, Siphon, Twisting Nether, so 3 cards can kill it. So it's a little scary to just kind of throw it out here, and while leaving...
I mean, Faceless is just sweet. Oh. It's too bad we probably won't see it.
Yeah, Siphon Soul is just so clean here. Able to just remove it, and Kolento doesn't really have his Battle Rage active currently, and this is the trouble the Temple Warrior can run into in this matchup. Reno Warlock just has such great ability to control the board and limit card draw and take the game to the later stages with so much heal.
Right, that's the big issue, is they end up drawing so much more than you, unless you pick up a disgusting Battle Rage early on after, say, a Ravaging Ghoul on Acolyte of Pain that wasn't dealt with. Then you can start contesting for pressure in the mid game. But that if you get that kind of opener, then that usually means you haven't played a lot of minions, which means that Reno Lock is not too threatened. So, whatever avenue you take, I think eventually you always lead to the same problem.
Yeah. No Grom is available for Kolento any longer, so it's going to be a lot harder for him to close out this game with Burst. It does have the Malkorok, though.
Yeah, it has done things in the past, but Reno is going to be coming out here for StanCifka. Good timing, got a full hand of options, removal and threats alike.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Alright, now maybe we're starting to talk. Maybe we're starting to talk here.
Battle Rage for 2 more cards, and...
Yeah, I mean, you have seen already the Siphon Soul, so do you just trade 2 of your minions in and Rag, or do you Malkorok and Blood to Iker? Doomhammer!
Whoa, I think Malkorok was the play.
There is an ooze in Cifka's deck, though, and we haven't seen it. He's getting to the bottom of that deck very, very quickly.
Yeah. But for now, there's no ooze, so Kolento is good to go for the time being, but he definitely is afraid of it. Just getting those weapon charges in. Does he trade to play around Shadow Flame?
I think he might, but if you really need to win, you need to hope Rag and Core Crown Elites end up finishing the game off. If he Shadow Flames, he loses Reno 4 of his mana, and he still has no way to really taunt up for the time being. And your 6/5 stays alive unless he goes for Coil, and if he does that, then that's 5 of his mana gone, and you probably get another turn to play Rag with a Slam and weapon up a minion. So overall, for pressure, just going face is better. Reno's out of the way.
Okay, StanCifka has a lot of options here for potentially shutting down a lot of this aggression. He's got like Faceless Shadow Flame for a very convenient board clear. He has Twisting Nether for a pretty good board clear. He has Cult of Apothecary for just a lot of heal this turn.
I like that a lot more, I think, yeah.
He's got Shadow Flame, Bane of Doom.
Do it! I think that might be the best option, because you do get an extra minion there at the end of the sequence. And this Bane of Doom has been doing so much work for StanCifka in every single match. He's found a target for it every time. First match was the Doom Guard, and then it was the real Doom Guard. Now it's the Blood Imp.
Yeah, now he finally gets unlucky with it, and it's kind of fair.
It actually just can't be killed with Slam or Doomhammer, so it might tank 8 damage. It might have been a 0-8.
Yeah, a 0-8, not too bad. Not quite as good as the 6-8 from previous game or the 5-7, but, you know.
6-set dice to execute with a Doomhammer hit.
Live.
And it dies.
Oh, wow. Takes 8 damage. So
unbelievable. There's a faceless play here. There's a faceless play for StanCifka. He can even buff up his Rag to 9/9 with the Defensive Argus at the end of that sequence to make it immune to the opponent's Ragnaros in the immediate sense. But how do you play this out? I don't even know what's going on.
Your only way to like 100% remove the Rag, right, is Twisting Nether. But if you're Twisting Nether, then you're super afraid of Varian coming out from Kolento just destroying you, because that's your last real big AoE, right? You've already used the Shadow Flame, and Shadow Flame and Twisting Nethers are your like true super AoEs. So that's like not really a good option here. So he kind of has to go for the faceless 50-50.
Yeah, so he's gonna go for the Imp Gang boss, reduce the odds of the Rag being hit.
Mm-hmm. And then maybe taunt up the Imp Gang boss.
Yeah, I think I like that. It protects your Rag from an execute, assuming the opponent's willing to face tank a bit.
Yeah. And taunt both, but I like just taunting the Imp Gang boss just to try and guarantee, well, not guarantee, but help your Ragnaros not be susceptible to execute.
And the Rag goes down, which puts Kolento again a little bit behind. That Blood Imp was MVP. That Blood Imp did so much. Because the thing is, if it had been any other demon, for the most part, I think most of them would die to Slam plus Doomhammer double swing, which means the 8 damage guaranteed to go face.
Yeah, and if StanCifka's at 8 right now, Kolento could play Core Crown Elite and Bloodhoof Brave and Armorsmith and set his opponent down to 4 health, and then close out the game next turn with the second 2 swings of Doomhammer. So
Climbing for the execute play here. He's hoping he picks it up. There's a second one and he gets it.
Wow.
Unbelievable, man. This game's been back and forth.
It's still going to be tough for Kolento to win this one, though. StanCifka still has Alex Straza for heal. He has Cult Apothecary. He's got Bran Argus combo in his hand with Peddler to go along with it. So just so many great resources stacked up and combos stacked up in StanCifka's hand. And Kolento has a Bloodhook Brave.
Yeah, from my perspective here, StanCifka doesn't lose this unless he throws intentionally. It would be very difficult to imagine a world where there's enough threats left in Kolento's list. And Bran, Cult Apothecary heals for 8. That on its own is enough to demoralize even the most positive of people. Oh man, double Peddler, double Apothecary. I mean, I imagine we'll see Apothecary come out here. It's the most heals you'll ever get out of it. Ha!
Oh, you just remove a weapon
No
charge.
way. With double charge, because Bran is there.
Yeah, 2 charges remove off the Doommember. That's a heal 4 for 1 mana. It's the same as Cult Apothecary, right?
Might as well. You get the Argus on top of that. Unbelievable. What is this game? I mean, this has been so fun to watch. Oh, he's gonna Mortal Coil. All right.
Sure.
All right.
The Doommember's not threatening to do any damage to you this turn anyway, right?
Sure.
So, not too bad.
Yeah, I think Kolento might just have to throw in the towel. I don't know what's left in his deck, if there's some kind of secret brawl in Temple Warrior to try to swing this back in his favor. But Malkorok is gone, Ragnaros is gone. After, in fact, having been more of a nuisance than a positive thing, and even Varian Rin dies to Twisting Nether. Assuming it's in the deck.
Yeah, it seems like StanCifka just has all the answers lined up in his hand, and Kolento realizes that and is just going to concede from this position.
StanCifka will equalize the Seers 1-1. We kind of expected this going forward. Temple Warrior is supposed to have a slightly better matchup here. Actually, a much better matchup than just pure Patron. But StanCifka's deck is so minion-centric. No gimmicks with combos, so you have resources to throw out for trading potential as opposed to trying to hold on to them to kill your opponent later on.
For sure. Removing the combo and removing Jiraxis makes you a lot worse against control decks, but against all the tempo and mid-range decks, it makes your Reno Warlock just so much stronger in those matchups. And that's why we see the ban there from StanCifka, right? StanCifka's Reno Lock has no chance against Kolento's Reno Lock because Kolento has combo and StanCifka does not. So we see StanCifka take the ban, remove the Reno Lock out of Kolento's lineup, and be able to use his sort of different Reno Lock strategy to really do well against the mid-range decks remaining in Kolento's lineup.
Now I wonder what Kolento's going to go for. There's the Priest left for Sifka, the Cthulhu Priest, which we've seen work out pretty well against Kolento's decks as well a bit earlier. The Shaman, I think, struggled a bit against it.
The interesting story we have here is the Cthulhu Priest, every time I've ever seen it played, has won against mid-range Hunter. Kolento already won with mid-range Hunter, though. So can it win against other decks? Because I have not actually been able to see it play against any other deck besides mid-range Hunter across 2 tournaments now.
Yeah, that's a good question. I have to imagine getting Cthulhu's Chosen's Disciples, that gives you a decent matchup against something like Shaman. Although Kolento does play Lightning Storms, and that can put a wrench in your plans given that you're playing minions as well, except you might not have the card draw necessary to keep the fuel going, and the Shaman can put out pressure a bit later in the game. No Entombs were seen. Alkanite Circle is in there, but again, that's a kind of a one-of combo.
Yeah,
Getting a match.
I can imagine the Cthulhu Priest struggling against N'Zoth Paladin. I can imagine struggling against Temple Warrior, just getting beaten down too quickly if you don't have the Alkanite Circle. And, I mean, mid-range Shaman can beat anything, right? So I could see the Priest end up struggling here with the Hunter gone.
I want to see this deck in action. I want Sifka to queue up the Priest just about now. And my wish is answered against N'Zoth Paladin. We'll see it happen. I wonder if that's a matchup that StanCifka's happy with. I mean, he's very board-centric in many aspects. I haven't seen Entomb, which makes it very tough to beat all these Karen Bloodhoof, Sylvanas coming out. Even Tyrion.
Yeah, could definitely be hard if there is no Entombs in the deck.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Cthulhu Priests.
Holds on to Carrion.
Yeah.
Carrion off the mulligan there. So Kolento's not expecting any Entombs from StanCifka's Priest, I assume. Otherwise, why would you keep Karen, right?
Yeah, maybe it's just one of those things where you haven't seen enough. Like, StanCifka's list was not completely revealed to us through the turns.
Yeah, but we saw a good amount of it, and we never saw Entomb, so Kolento didn't see Entomb either, so that's why he goes there, keeping Karen, just knowing it's a 4-attack minion. Priests really struggle with that.
Yeah, they're gonna have to expend a lot of resources. That means their minions into this. Acolyte of Pain, even though it gives StanCifka card draw, also gives Kolento the ability to cycle through his deck. And StanCifka has to expend some of his mana to get the card draw, but he finds it. I mean, you have to play the second Northshire, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is insane. Every match.
Give your opponent 2 cards, but you also get 2 cards. And you have the ability to get more cards in the future as well. It's Northshire Cleric putting in huge work again for StanCifka.
Circle. You could get another 2 if you wanted, but...
Well, they're not going anywhere, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think they're leaving this board anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. If True Silver comes out, you can see one of the Northshire Clerics dying. So there's some potential there to maybe cycle it because of that fear, but...
Do you ever feel like you need to keep the Alkanized Circle for N'Zoth later on in the game? Or do you not expect the game to last long enough to get to that point? Because there's a chance that by just getting beat down by Death Rattle minions, N'Zoth is never really a factor in your win or loss. And just getting the card draw now is more relevant. I mean, 2 draws. Oh, he finds another. Okay.
Yeah, he finds another. I like the draw here, actually, now that I think about it a little bit more. And the reason being is because N'Zoth Paladin doesn't really build a board till way later in the game, so if you just cycle for cards and snowball your own game plan, they're not going to be able to deal with it. Yeah, so you just do your Cthulhu game plan faster by cycling the circle there. It's not like you need to clear any time in the immediate future. You'll probably find the other circle or Excavated Evil by the time you really need to start clearing, so I like it. Just never lose board and commit to that now.
Yeah, the upside is Forbidden Shaping is one of those cards in StanCifka's deck that has versatility. We haven't seen much of it, I think, in competitive play, but against a deck like N'Zoth Paladin, some of the outcomes of that Forbidden Shaping, if they come out after they had to clear your Cthulhu board, then you get an 8-drop that can be devastating as well. I have to wonder what StanCifka is going to be hoping for when he goes to turn 8. Ragnaros is likely one of the better ones, but Tyrion's pretty sweet.
Cycles the Power Word Shield. He can trade in his 4-2 and his 1-5 now and draw a card. Leaves him a little bit more open to consecrate than he'd probably like to be, but not
He's
really
also going to be
much.
overdrawing, I think, by 1, so he would have to throw something out afterwards.
Yeah, you can always throw out the Forbidden Shaping, right? So the flexibility of that, but getting a 2-drop off it's not great.
I don't know if I mean, he did get a Wisp earlier against Kolento, which turned out to be a huge problem.
Yeah. It allowed the Unleash the Hounds to be more devastating against him, but he picks up Disciple of Cthulhu, not too bad. Now he can preserve his bubble and be a little bit safer around AoE.
Yeah, Consecration is less of an issue now, so the 4-2 is a bit safer. On the flip side, the coin's gone, so he's going to have to slow down his own game plan. But I think that's something you're okay with. Cairn Bloodhoof, huge problem.
Yep.
It's a lot of resources you have to commit, and you know it's going to be coming back later on.
Yeah, I imagine he just ignores it, tries to punch him in the face a lot, and set up for Cthulhu to be lethal on 10. Has to be the game plan, right?
I guess, is there a better argument for Alkanai, ping face, and just push? That way, instead of Cthulhu's Chosen, you force him to trade into the Alkanai. He needs 1 more damage to kill it, and the Consecration's not as big an issue. I guess
then he
cycling
can't draw cards. Yeah. Yeah, the amount of cards that StanCifka's just been drawing, he just has resources for days now. Able to just put on so much pressure, push so much damage. It's Zoo Cthulhu Priest.
New metagame invented by Cifka. I mean, on the flip side, there is the Wild Pyromancer being playable here with the Forbidden Healing. Gives him quite a bit of health.
Yeah, it stops a lot of the damage coming in.
Exactly. The fact that you can actually remove the Northshire Cleric, you deny card draw, so from here on out, you have 8 drops all the way to N'Zoth. You're getting Cairn back at some point. I think Kolento's happy about this hand going into turn 8.
Yeah, reasonably so, I'd assume. He's got the Fire Lord to come down next turn, maybe? Snipe off one of these minions. Because I imagine we see StanCifka. He's got so many resources in his hand that he doesn't have to be efficient with it. He can just play into board clears, I feel like. So if he really wants to, he can just drop the Twin Emperors and push 8 face damage. He's not going to run out of cards for a while.
I was gonna say the board-centric game plan is to go ahead and play the Wild Pyro play
Okay.
with the Forbidden Shaping on 5, because I think 5 is the second next best thing you're gonna get. He picks up Leroy, which gives him a good way to punish Kolento, because there's no more Wild Pyro in hand. What? That's absurd. What is this? Oh, Infested Torrent shows up, but yeah, meh.
Huh.
So Kolento's got to be a bit scared though, no matter what. Like, you might have to play. Do you play Light Lord or Tyrion? Tyrion seems safer because Light Lord comes out right afterwards, and you finally get rid of that Leroy.
Yeah.
On
Even
paper.
if StanCifka wants to death here, you'd have to trade in his minions anyway. So I assume both of the minions are just going to trade into.
He might have to. He might heal
Tyrion?
up. He might heal up the Leroy, and then death. That way he gets to push 6 afterwards, and still play something like.
Well, you could just trade in the pyro and death if you're going to do that.
Sure. Yeah, that's right. Actually, it's even better that way, because you can play the.
I think you
Alchemy
just
Knife
trade.
first. Really,
No.
I play Alchemy Knife to ping face, and force the Dashbringer to go in there, and then you push
Okay.
6 Leroy.
Sure.
Maybe it's a bit too greedy. Maybe it is.
He's going to go for it. Just pushing the damage with Leroy Jenkins is being as aggressive as possible.
Play the
we
6/5.
Yeah. No heal for 10 though.
Who needs it?
Yeah, really.
It's overrated.
Kolento is facing down a lot of damage. Cthulhu
Infested
can't come
Torrent,
out.
double Doomsayer. That's it. You just attack that 6/5. You infested Torrent, double Doomsayer. Hope there's no Cabal Shadow Priest.
And then Slammed is off the following turn.
I think you might have to play Light Lord, but
Okay.
like you have to attack into this and probably play Light Lord. I imagine, at least. The alternative is you die to Cabal Shadow Priest, which might be okay, I guess. Like,
We still
unless
haven't seen Cabal Shadow Priest yet. It's not a card. I like healing here. It's
Sure.
pretty good.
Back to 16. There's a Light Lord on the back end, and that's probably not going to get dealt with by StanCifka. The resources he's got to commit to get rid of these guys doesn't seem worth it.
Can he even give it a...
So you
Yeah, you
Arcanine,
Yeah.
Arcanine pink face, and then you get to play Disciple to face. You've seen 2 Forbiddens, and then you Cthulhu on the following turn to win.
Yeah, what's his Cthulhu at right now? He might be able to do
14-14. He's going to be 16-16 afterwards, so I mean, I can't imagine... Like, Light Lord is the one thing that prevents it from happening, but you probably are going to be able to deal with it right afterwards.
Yeah,
Unless
but
I'm mistaken, I don't know. Feels good to me. I mean, I've seen so much removal coming out of this Paladin.
we have seen both Forbidden Healings now come out for Kolento, so there is a pretty good chance of him just dying to the Cthulhu, because there's only 8 healing left in Kolento's deck, and that's with the Light Lord.
And that gets dealt with death.
Mhm.
And even if Nazoth comes out, that doesn't heal you at all. All
Yeah,
it does is put down a Tyrion.
Yeah, he's going the full aggression route.
I really like that play from StanCifka. It's not something I expected him to do necessarily, knowing his playstyle in general, but I like the recognition that 2 Forbidden Healings are out of the way. I can push here.
Yeah, Light Lord comes down for Kolento to try and stabilize, and now StanCifka's going to be able to death that, redevelop a board, and be right in the driver's seat and reset up the Cthulhu again.
I mean, if Nazoth comes out at any point, the Alkanai Circle with a ping on its own deals with the Tyrion, keeps Nazoth alive a little bit, but honestly, I think that's very reasonable. Cabal Shadow Priest is in the deck. So that
Okay.
entire play that we saw earlier, that I mentioned with double Doomsayer with Infested Torrent, would have backfired if that card had been in the hand. Quality is a pretty good card, but let's be honest, without a Consecration or Pyro, it feels risky.
Does Cthulhu kill him here?
Does he? Oh, I think you might Alkanai Flash Heal phase first. I mean, I really like the idea of killing Tyrion with Alkanai. You ram the 4/6 in, you ping it, then you Alkanai Circle, then you Flash Heal face. Or do you just Flash Heal straight up? This turn's kind of tricky, honestly, though. Cthulhu is very straightforward, but Aldor Peacekeeper... You have to rely on your Alkanai to finish off the game next, which should
We're going
work.
with Cthulhu, hope he's dead.
It might. I mean, even if you don't kill him, you have the Alkanai Flash Heal.
Yeah. And there's no
Wow.
more heal remaining. That was
I mean,
not a very good Cthulhu.
That's the worst Cthulhu ever for this spot, because he gets the weapon,
Yeah.
and if he heals up to like even 8,
Yeah,
Like
8
your
is
Akanai ping
just
doesn't
good
do
enough.
it. So if he uses the Choose Over Champion here, if he recognizes he has to, then he takes it, unless the second Flash Heal comes off the top.
Mhm.
Or Dark Shire Alchemist, which I don't think is in there.
Well, you could potentially grind out on the board, I guess, but it's gonna be tough for StanCifka unless he finds more damage somehow, or Kolento doesn't make the read here that there's an Alkanite Flash Heal ping. We haven't seen Flash Heal yet from StanCifka's deck, so Kolento may not even know it's there.
As
Oh,
a
did they?
self-defense
Okay.
move. There was one move against, I think, a warrior who wanted to deal damage by bursting him down, and he ended up flash healing himself back up to 13 and healing the Twin Imps a little bit earlier in the tournament. So there was a moment where Kolento saw it. The question is, does he really pin on his opponent having the second Akanai with the flash heal
Yeah,
in the spot?
it's definitely a situation where Kolento has to make a pretty good read here to be able to stay alive. And he has to overwrite 3 charges of an Ashbringer.
Yeah,
Which-
let's be honest. Doesn't feel good. I mean, he gets to play the Infested Tauren on the back of that, so he is safe against minions coming out on the board, but he has to surrender a full Ashbringer. He
He
makes
does it.
the read!
He makes the read.
God Lento. Our second flash heal off the top would completely ruin the moment, but
Yeah.
it is still a very good play by Kolento there. That was a very, very heads-up play. Oh, I've
There's
seen
no-
some disasters.
Rag
in my
lethal.
day. So you'd
So
have to
Stan-
self-heal to start with. You could always go for Akanai Flash Heal Leroy.
How can I Flash Heal Leroy? Wait, the odds are higher. How can I Flash Heal your opponent and try and get
And then
Wolf
Horse Rider
or
or
yeah,
Wolf Rider. Yeah.
yeah,
The
that's
question
higher
is, how
odds.
many legendaries are there? Like 5 is really clunky. 8 is usually where you want to be. So
3
like
is
the
the most
long-term plan is you play the healing tool where you heal yourself for 10 and then you probably develop
Well, StanCifka's best out to winning this game has got to be slowing down the game, stalling out until he's able to find the second Flash Heal, right? If he does run
Right.
2. If he doesn't run 2, then he needs a totally different game plan here. And since we're seeing this Alkanai circle come out, I don't think he runs 2. I think he only runs 1. That's why he's going with the clear here.
I mean, even if he runs 2, I mean, look at this. What does he have to do to kill his 3/1? There's Consecration left, and maybe a Pyro with a spell, but which spell?
True.
What's
Yeah, his
left?
board's pretty sticky. And that Harvest Golem out there, the Death Rattle. And
Oh,
he
man.
had the potential Wolf Rider for lethal there.
And the Infested Tauren, if it's played, is going to get stolen by the Cabal Shadow Priest. Is Kolento just
Okay.
going to be losing this here? There's a possibility for sure.
Well, he does have Aldor plus trade, kill the Alkanite to be able to stabilize and maybe just develop the Sylvanas behind that, because he does get the 2 heal from the True Silver Champion.
So he is alive, barring something like a 2 damage source, which really doesn't... There's really not much of it, so...
Yeah, if there's probably not a Holy Nova, but if there is a Holy Nova, that'd be one way for StanCifka to close out the game. But I don't imagine anyone expects a Holy Nova coming out of this Cthulhu Priest deck.
Yeah, we've seen 2 good Disciples of Cthulhu already, so that out is gone.
Mhm.
And without any more phase damage, how do you pull off 2 damage here as StanCifka? That is not one way. Does he play Doomcaller? I don't think so. I haven't seen...
We haven't seen
anything like
Doomcaller.
that.
6 cards remaining. I think
Entomb on Rag, but...
we haven't seen Entomb either. There's 2 Excavated Evils in there. We've seen the Excavateds before, so it's got 2 Excavated Evils for sure, and some other cards.
And here we go. So what Kolento is going to be running up against here is StanCifka denying him the ability to lose the Sylvanas to anything on the board without finding a way to weaken it first. I think there's still another equality left, so there could be a trade. The Consecration is great to clean up a lot of this board, but
Concentrate plus
total.
Infested Tauren, since StanCifka decided to commit the Cabal Shadow Priest.
well, 2 damage away from lethal for
Maybe he's-
StanCifka.
Second Cabal could do it. StanCifka runs 2 Cabals in his Cthulhu Priest. He could top deck it here. He's got a 1 and 6.
Yeah, but I mean, doesn't the 2/3 die to the Aldor? The Sylvanas steals the Cabal?
Well, no, it's 2 damage kills him.
Yeah, he can't actually attack with a weapon, I know that much. So he has to steal the Tauren with the second Cabal, like, immediately. I don't know if that's gonna be a long-term game plan that he can rely on. He did count his cards, so maybe he's got an out.
Yeah.
What could be in there?
It's Cabal Shadow Priest. Take the Infested Tauren and kill with the Heart Skull. That's the out.
I mean, there's
But
a
he doesn't
chance,
have
like,
an
it
out.
comes out too late, because now if he double trades, and then Sylvanas opposes
Yeah, now it's too late.
Yeah,
It's
now
all over, man.
I think StanCifka knows it. He's shaking his head like, oh my god, what is going on here? I should have kept Forbidden Shaping for something else, and then this Harvest Golem. It's lame.
Yeah.
There was a chance committed the Cabal, I guess.
Yeah, the Cabal commitment was really the thing. And I think caused all the problems there.
So is there a 50-50 lethal? You go Rag, you trade away the 1/1, and then if you hit everything face, I think you're pushing for it.
There's a... Yeah. Well, is it 100%? He's got 11...
7. Actually, yeah, it is 100.
11 plus
3-1
8.
going in.
Yeah,
he's done. That is going to be game. Never mind 50-50 lethal. Just have it guaranteed. Well, Kolento is going to take it. I am surprised at the outcome here. It really came down to the Cabal Shadow Priest against Infested Tauren at the very late moment. StanCifka might have had another Flash Heal in the deck. We'll never know.
Mm-hmm. Well, the point was StanCifka could have played the 6/5 for 5 instead of the Cabal Shadow Priest to represent the same threat, and then still have the ability to take the Infested Tauren to push the Harvest Golem through at later stages of the game. But it would have been the mana cost of the Forbidden Shaping would have been at up 4 instead of at 3, so he wouldn't have had chances for the Charger for the instant lethal that turn. So I guess that's why he went with the play that he went with.
Yeah, I mean that play was really interesting from Cifka. What the value of that 6/5 probably didn't add up to much in the late game.
Wait, did he have a... He may have had an Alchemy on the board, though, so it may have done 10 damage to him.
No, on that turn he didn't. It was actually already gone, unfortunately.
Okay, so yeah, then I think saving the Cabal could have been a lot more beneficial to him had he known that there's an Infested Tauren in Kolento's deck. Maybe he just assumed there wasn't any Infested Tauren. That's a card that's been kind of phased out of N'Zoth Paladin a little bit.
Yeah, since they already have the Tyrion as a baseline taunt. N'Zoth's weakness is usually you don't taunt up very much with it. As soon as it comes down, you still get pushed in the face for a ton of damage. But they still maintain Tyrion, so that gives them the one taunt, aside from Chilma, I guess, in the game that can be used with that. So it's going to come down for this match to Shaman versus Shaman. Stormcrack in Kolento's list, we saw that a bit earlier. Really interesting card to see. It counters Totem Golems super well, beats up Imp Gang Boss. That was a lot of work.
Here it comes for Kolento, just taking care of StanCifka's Totem Golem.
Very efficient.
Good.
Yep. Yeah. And he used up the coin on this and is overloaded by one of the worst case scenarios for that Stormcrack for StanCifka.
Yeah. He does have the Archer Squire to follow up, so it's not too bad, and it leads perfectly into Feral Spirits. So overall, I think StanCifka is still a bit ahead because Kolento's got nothing going on. But wait, there's a Totem Golem.
And that will force the Rockbiter weapon being used with the hero power, which anyway will still lower the cost of the thing from below for turn 4, so the curve is still very much intact.
Yeah.
A little bit of a different game plan, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, StanCifka's still ahead. Being able to get the board first is extremely powerful. So, even though the Stormcrack had such great value, it didn't have that much of a significant role in the game just because StanCifka still had a way to counter Kolento's Totem Golem.
And Manatide Totem will lower the cost of the thing from below, so it can be played alongside a Totem on the next turn, and force StanCifka to deal with this aggressively. I mean, you have to handle the Manatide as soon as possible with everything you got.
Yeah, he's really hoping for Flame Tongue Totem there. It would have been insane. Lower the cost from things from below and deal with the Manatide Totem, but he's got no really great answer. You're not Lightning Storming this. That's absolutely silly. So you probably are looking at potentially playing Flame Wreath Faceless into Feral Spirits or some sort of curve like that, but...
To force the Hex out of your opponent. That's possible. I could see that being done. It's not the worst thing that you can do this.
The issue with it is you probably have to trade 7 damage into the Manatide Totem if you go for that sort of route. So he's going to go with Feral Spirits instead. Make sure that he has more options to get through Taunt Totem to make sure he can get this Manatide Totem dead the following turn. Take care of business.
At the moment, Kolento has the option of Rockbiter Weapon plus Lightning Bolt to deal with these wolves, and also gets to play the Tone Shrug on the back of that as a 2/3 at the end of the sequence. And he gets to play Totem with the Argent Squire at the end of that, so...
Yeah, and he protects his...
Totem at the end of that.
Yeah, he protects his Manatide Totem, which is huge. He knows StanCifka doesn't have any way to deal with it out of hand. He knows there's no Flame Tongues or Rock Biters or Lightning Bolts, because you would have seen that come out the previous turn.
Yeah, and I mean, if Storm is used here, number one, that uses all of StanCifka's mana, which is fine for you, since you get the initiative back with 5 mana open, with a great hand to go with it. So I think if Storm comes out for Kolento, he's still not too unhappy.
Yeah, this is not a good board to Storm.
And it did kill everything, I believe. It did.
Yeah. But you can see StanCifka just putting his head down after that storm. You never really want to be storming that sort of board.
So would you go Totem, Flame Tongue, thing from below on the far right? Or on the far left, whichever position you prefer?
Yeah,
Usually.
getting things from below down to 1 is pretty good. And it sets up, you get 2 totems out there, both protected by your things from below. So the next turn you can go Thunderbluff Valiant Totem. You've seen a storm already, so Thunderbluff Valiant, or some of the totems at least, are likely to stick around and just be extremely powerful.
Now StanCifka has to evaluate like his likelihood of racing ahead on the board. Just seems so tough.
Yeah, he's got 4 mana to try and deal with this too, and that's just brutal.
Yeah, I mean, even if you totem up, the thing from below goes down to 3, but that's relevant next turn. You could totem and play the Flame Juggler, afford yourself a little bit of damage taken this turn, and then hope that your turn 7 can be a little bit better for you. But it would include like a Primal Fusion if nothing gets traded into, but I'm assuming just everything dies. You probably have to hex this, even though it sucks.
Then you have no hex for the Thunderbluff Valiant, and
It's horrible. Yeah.
oh man, you don't even clear off any of the totems unless you use Primal Fusion to trade.
Right. What about thing from below straight up? Like you force the trade on their thing from below, and that would guarantee that. Well, it's guarantee. It doesn't guarantee anything really, but you're hoping that it works out. You can get a semi-board clear with this.
I like this by StanCifka, realizing that Thunderbluff Valiant is likely to come out, and he sets himself up in the best position to deal with it, but it's still not a great position to deal with it, but at least he's trying, getting that Primal Fusion out there to value trade his totem in there and try and fight back for the board, and it's not going to be pretty, though. He needs a second Storm, I guess.
That's a good card. That is a pretty good card, though. Yeah, it could give him something absolutely insane, and with the ability to hero power and the thing from below, it's not too bad either. At this point, though, one of the things that Kolento's got going for him is the fact that his totems cost him almost nothing and trade up very easily.
That's a 6 attack healing totem. If Kolento
Yeah, with
just hero
Storm,
powers.
I hear that's pretty good to trade up into a 7/7.
Yeah, hero power Storm, trade into 7/7, have the Tunnel Trog get buffed by the Storm. Things are going Kolento's way this game, and it was all on the back of just how he protected that Mana Tide, making sure he cleaned off the Feral Spirits and realizing his opponent didn't have Bolt or Rockbiter in the hand.
Yeah, Kolento can commit everything to board if he wants here. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't at this stage. You've got a Valiant that doesn't seem to be answered. You've seen a Hex. You've seen a Storm. If this gets cleaned up, you can brush it off to a bad beat almost. Jolt Scarab, Elemental Destruction. Dream! Yeah, sounds pretty tough for Cifka. Is there anything in Cifka's deck that could... I guess a Fire Elemental killing the Flame Tongue would help quite a bit. Like, it would stabilize him a little bit for one turn, but does he just still die? Because the Flame Tongue being gone, that's 4 damage gone, plus the 4 from the Flame Tongue, so that's 8. You're mitigating.
To be honest, he looks pretty dead. He definitely needs to rip Elemental Destruction if that's in his deck. That's the out.
I'd be surprised. Like, Fire Elemental needs to go on that 4/3. This is not something he wanted to see just now. He can play Flame Juggler and maybe pop the 5/1 out of the board. Get lucky a little bit here, get an extra totem, Stoneclaw, with thing from below. Nope, that doesn't do anything.
Doesn't even help set up for his Storm. Yeah,
the face. Kolento is gonna go 3-1 over StanCifka. So we saw this matchup earlier. Another matchup of these two players faced off against one another, and StanCifka took it 4-2. This looks to be kind of the exact opposite at this point.
Yeah, Kolento is dominating this series so far, and looks really tough. When you're up 3-1, it's really hard to lose in a best of 7, just because you have so many tries with that last remaining deck, and you don't really bring decks ever to a tournament that it's like, if it gets 3 tries, it doesn't have a chance at least of winning, right? Usually you throw in some kind of crazy tech cards, so it always has a chance of winning. And Temple Warrior is one of those decks with a tech card that gives it a chance to win against anything, and that's Varian Rin. Occasionally you Varian into Rag Grom or something ridiculous, and your opponent just dies on the spot, no matter what the matchup is. So I assume Kolento will eventually get a win with this Warrior. It may not be the first try against the Priest, but there is going to be eventually a time where Temple Warrior has a crazy nutty hand and is able to pull a win off here against StanCifka.
I don't think we've seen Varian Rin, unfortunately, though. I hope it's in his deck for his sake. Oh, never mind!
Oh.
Right off the top.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, one of the things that Varian Rin does is guarantee wins against those decks you're so far behind against. Like, if you can just get on this board. But the issue is, if it's drawn way too late after you've exhausted all those good cards, it's just kind of a 10-mana 7/7.
Oh man, StanCifka finally has a bad hand with this priest deck. He doesn't have the Northshire Cleric anymore. If he's able to pick up Northshire Cleric, though, he has like Wild Pyromancer, Northshire Cleric, Coin, Circle, draw his entire deck. So
Oh, you
all he
also
needs...
got the Alkanai Circle, which helps a lot against tempo.
Well, he doesn't have Alkanai yet, but he has the circles. But he really needs to pick up Northshire Cleric, because Northshire Cleric plus any spell plus Circle plus Wild Pyromancer is so much card draw, it's absolutely insane. So if he's able to find that combo, or if he's able to find Alkanai to be able to clear the Tempo Warriors board, he's going to be in a great spot. But for now, he's just looks like he's slowly falling behind. Now, do you damage the minion here?
I was gonna say,
like
why
you
didn't he
do.
attack twice and just Battle Rage on the back of this? I thought it was an okay Battle Rage. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded it myself.
He's gonna keep the
minion-
3/4 healthy and still get a damage probably on the following turn anyway. So it's alright, it's perfectly fine.
Well, the minion you expect to come out from turn 4 from Cthulhu Priest is a 4/2, so it's kind of awkward trading the monkey into it. So yeah, it would have been really nice to still have the slam in his hand. So I'm really surprised he didn't just double trade into the previous minion, Battle Rage like you said, and then have the slam available to help him kill the 4/2 with the War X charge.
Well, the
Picks up a
Ravaging
goal.
Rule, never mind, can actually make this a lot better. Now, StanCifka did get the Northshire Cleric, and because everything will be damaged through Battle Rage, there's a good chance he gets his own Battle Rage out of his opponents through the Circle of Healing. So StanCifka is liable to just draw his entire deck at this stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, I don't know if you saw that match, but I was watching, I think I cast Amnesiac playing your combo priest list, and he had a turn where he could have just drawn, 5 cards, I think, on the back of a Northshire play, and maybe more, but he opted not to, and that lost him the match completely. And it's one of those cases where it seems like a waste to use that precious Circle of Healing as card draw, but it's the only way to race ahead so far that the opponent can't catch up as priest.
Yeah. If he uses that circle for card draw, StanCifka is going to draw a lot of cards, and a control deck with a lot of cards is usually the one that's favored.
Yeah, and Kolento is going to bide his time for the Battle Rage.
So do we see StanCifka go here to just try and draw 5 cards, or is he going to be a bit more patient with it? Because he has
the
the
drawback
ability
is
to
you
draw
do
5.
need to kill that Frothing on the back of whatever play you make, right?
Yeah, you can go Northshire
circle,
Cleric.
circle, death at the end of the sequence.
Yeah, Northshire Cleric, Wild Pyromancer, Coin, Circle Death.
Yeah, I think
Draw
I like that a lot.
5 cards, and kill your opponent's Frothing, and kill your opponent's 2/2.
I mean, you can double circle if you really want to, but then you overdraw so much is just you're a suicide.
Yeah, you overdraw
3
cards.
Right.
Maybe not worth it. Maybe hold on to the other circle for the board clear.
Lose Cthulhu, lose the game.
Is there any way he could Wild Pyromancer effect down this? He could go.
Wild Pyro Circle, Powered Shield, that would clear it. But again, he overdraws so much in the process. Going back to our initial point, that's kind of the problem with that play. But he does race ahead, and by doing so, removes minions for Kolento's Battle Rage. So suddenly, Kolento's minions weren't used for him, but for his opponent the better. And he's going to get an extra 2 card draws out of this if he wants. I think you might want to keep it for the Alkanai Circle, though.
Mm-hmm.
Well
Kolento
done.
does know that there are Cabals in his opponent deck, so it's kind of scary to just drop Bloodhoof Brave down going into a turn 6 when your opponent just drew 5 cards.
Double Armor Smith might feel a bit better.
Mm-hmm. Sets up for a really good second Battle Rage as well, and he can take care of this Cleric and gain a little bit of armor himself.
Well, StanCifka has the card advantage, thanks to that Northshire Wild Pyromancer turn. And going forward, that's going to be very important. And again, picks up another Cleric if he ever wants to pull something similar again.
Yeah, as soon as he starts running out of cards again, he can restore his hand with that draw combo.
Gotta make sure you don't overdraw that Cthulhu out of your deck.
Yeah, for now, just playing all of his minions out there. Buffing is 2-1 up, so it lives against the Armorsmiths, so it's just not a free kill. Seems reasonable.
Yeah, very good position for StanCifka here. And the execute is not something you want to play just yet. There's a really good Ravaging Ghoul turn here with the Battle Rage.
Well,
you want to
can Battle
enable
Rage with Bloodhoof too. You can just play Bloodhoof and take the trades. You don't actually need to play Ravaging Ghoul.
Sure. So you'd just not damage the you'd not kill anything this turn.
Yeah, that's the downside, right?
The thing is, you might want to be enabling that Bloodhoof. Then again, you would have seen Cabal Shadow Priest had it been there, I guess. Most of the time.
I don't know. I feel like StanCifka might be explicitly saving it to target the Bloodhoof Brave.
Gotcha.
So, did Kolento just pick his nose?
Possibly.
Well, we do have the activation coming down on the Bloodhoof Brave.
There is no Excavated Evil here, but one of the things too is that Kolento's, like, his armor gain is absurd here. Like, we haven't really highlighted that portion of the matchup, but Cthulhu, like, the Cthulhu deck tends to be a bit of a beatdown deck.
Whoa. Excavated Evil came at the perfect time, but yeah.
That's what, 8 extra armor? Possibly 10 if you attack first with 2/2. At least you clean up everything, but it still hurts.
I guess you're right. This could potentially go to fatigue, and Kolento could just out-armor Cthulhu.
It's really down to keeping an execute for the right time.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like, I'm really not sure you want to be giving that Excavated Evil to your opponent. You need to cycle again, but I'm not sure if you can really pull it off. Is he going to heal this up, or death it?
Looks like he's going for the death into the circle.
Yeah, Death Circle trade with the 2/2 into the Ghoul.
Clear the board and draw 4 cards.
And don't give 10 armor to your opponent. I mean, he gets quite a substantial amount, but it's not... It would have been a lot more, I think. He was going to get 4 per minion per Armor Smith, so yeah, it was going to get completely absurd.
These Northshire Clerics have been absolutely insane. First Northshire Cleric drew 5 cards. Second Northshire Cleric drew 4 cards. That's just ridiculous.
I mean, if it goes to fatigue, as much as I want to give the edge to StanCifka, he's drawing a lot of cards this match. Argent Lance, not what you're looking for, but it kills something at least.
But is it going to go to fatigue though? Because the Cthulhu Priest has so many minions, just tons and tons of minions. Like, it's going to be really hard for Kolento to take this game to fatigue while StanCifka just has so many minions he can throw out there.
Yeah, the Alkanite Soul Priest as well is very high pressure. He can play Alkanite Flash Shield to kill a 6/5 and just keep going from this point on.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, it's really down to those... Like, can you flood the board enough that Kolento is under pressure as the Temple Warrior? Because he doesn't run Brawl. There is no Revenge that we've seen yet. So all these cards that you would expect to see in Control Warrior don't exist here. And as a result of that, the Priest can be the aggressor.
Yeah, the Priest can just develop a board that the Temple Warrior can't deal with by just constantly throwing minions out there and snowballing it. So we see StanCifka try and tempo out here using the Alkanite Flash Shield combo, and I find it's probably going to be pretty effective.
Do you ever have to execute the 3/5?
Yeah, you probably do. The hero power is just going to be too strong against you, clearing your minions, right? Play Karen,
so.
Execute the 3/5.
I think that might be the only line of play. I mean, yes, you do enable card draw, but that might be a good thing for you at this stage. If he draws more than he's already drawing, that might be fine.
Yeah.
The problem is if he ends up beating you down with Alkanite and killing you, every single minion you put down. That's too much.
Mm-hmm.
Varian Rin can come out next turn, though. There is a Ragnaros left, there is a Grom Hellscream. The Malkor Rock was already played, so that's a card that he's never going to have to deal with.
6 cards left for StanCifka.
Cthulhu better win, is kind of what we're getting at here. These minions need to connect, and they need to connect hard before the Cthulhu turns. Amazing. That's insane. That is insane. Okay. Cifka's got a real shot at this.
Real shot. Cifka has a really good chance at this. better than just a shot. I'd say Cifka's definitely favored in this position, but we'll see if Varian Rin can randomly do something that allows Kolento to come back.
Bloodtaker is not it. That is not it either. It's card draw, but that's definitely not what he was looking for. The deaths are gone. So let's put that into perspective. Shadow Word deaths are no longer there, so Varian Rin will have to be handled through damage output alone, if he's even cared for.
Mm-hmm.
Forbidden Shaping. Oh no. Oh no.
How many executes does Kolento have remaining?
I believe he executed 1 minute. I think I might have seen one early in the game, although that might have been the last game he played with the game, with the deck, that is. I think the last game he played and execute early. This time around, he's only executed the Akanai, if I recall.
Yeah.
I might be wrong.
Is there any way he can set up an Excavated Evil to clear the board here? Yeah, he can. He can trade the 4-2 into the 7-7, trade the 1-3 into the 4-1, trade the 2-1 into the 4-5, play Excavated Evil, clear the whole board if he wants to go that route. But looks like he is just going to deny the card draw from his opponent, develop Sylvanas, and keep marching.
I mean, do you clear up the Karen to steal a 7-7? Or I'd rather steal Karen, but the issue is like that's never happening. So do you ever kill like the 7-7 here? Probably.
You just go off face, take Bane, right? That's usually how this will end up.
Yeah. And slowing down the card draw. Let's face ourselves here. Would be reasonable. Yeah, pressure is being put out onto Kolento. Like, StanCifka, even though he's got the minion, if this board goes away, he knows there's a definite chance that he dies to fatigue if this lasts long enough. The fact that he's got the Bloodhoof Brave and the ability to enrage it for Kolento, that's pretty sweet, though. That means, like, he's gonna have to heal if he wants to steal with Cabal first. And if there's enough damage taken on it.
You have to do 3 damage to your Bloodhoof Brave, otherwise your opponent will heal Cabal it, because they have almost every card in their deck that's almost guaranteed they have Cabal. And even if you do enrage it, then they can steal your 7-7, so... Yeah, Kolento is just really pinned up against the wall here. He does not have any good options for the most part.
Did you try to go for a random Blood to Ichor steal? Is there ever a play that lets you do that? Like, if you go for, say, Blood to Ichor on the 4-2, then you Whirlwind, and then that brings down your Varian down to 6. You could trade away your 4-5. I mean, he'd have, like, Sylvanas just gets... Like, the fact that Sylvanas makes you play so inefficiently is crazy.
I guess
the level of inefficiency here is insane. Even Kolento doesn't have a good grasp on how to play this turn, man.
I don't see any good ways, and I can see both players' hands. And well, I guess in some sense, Kolento can also see both players' hands because StanCifka has his entire deck in his hand. But if we go for this 50-50 flip here, loses the 50-50 flip. That's brutal. But he is able to clean off, though, with the weapon. So he's able to come out ahead on board by some miracle.
Yeah, my question now for StanCifka is, do you just heal yourself up in Forbidden Healing for 8? I mean, I would be tempted to just pull off the 8 drop right now instead of just dropping more minions. Or would you go for the double 6-5?
Double 6-5 seems pretty appealing. Seems really hard for your opponent to deal with, and then you have a Cthulhu coming out pretty soon. You got only 3 cards or 4 cards left in your deck, so that's going to be tough for your opponent to stop. But you can also save the 6-5s for value. Excavated Evil doesn't seem terrible here, and then one of the 6-5s.
Or the Cthulhu card, possibly. Yeah, that Cthulhu even bigger. That's, I mean, whatever play you make here is pretty tough for your opponent to remove anything you put down.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is. Not quite a pain. Feels like it's a bit late to the party. Kolento probably isn't going to be taking this unless StanCifka just finds a way to mess this up so badly.
Well, I feel like Kolento's going to concede when StanCifka Cabal Shadow Priest that Bloodhoof Brave.
Never give up. Never surrender. Oh, that Shadow Word Pain on top of it is just icing on the cake.
Yeah,
you can, the pain.
Cabal the 2-6, trade the 6-5 into the 2-4, then Pain the Acolyte of Pain, limiting Kolento's draw to only 1 draw instead of being able to get 1 from the Acolyte and then 1 from his natural draw. And that has to be GG at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really see a way out of this for Kolento.
Yeah.
I think stealing the Frothing is also an alternative, but I think at this point you're just kind of splitting hairs. What do you steal? Like, how do you win? Well, anything kind of works, so...
Whatever wins more. As long as you're paying the Acolyte, I like whatever you do this turn.
Right. Like, this gives him the ability to trade his other minions and buff the Frothing even bigger and bigger, but at this stage it's just... a matter of degree, like, how much do I win? A lot?
Well, Kolento is still trying to bank on maybe Ragnaros finishing this game out for him. Wasn't able to find it here. Ragnaros sniping the 6-5 maybe gives him some sort of chance of coming back in the game.
Just 2 trades have to be done on the Rag with the minions on the board, and then maybe your opponent dies to fatigue. But you have to keep in mind, there is still a Cthulhu there in StanCifka's deck. So StanCifka will win with the Priest. You know what? It did get a win against something else. So I guess it's capable.
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. It got a pretty convincing win there as well. Now we have Kolento's Temple Warrior up against either the Cthulhu Warrior from StanCifka, which is typically speaking pretty favored in the side of the Cthulhu Warrior.
Yeah.
So could be a little bit tough for him, and StanCifka also has the Harrison Jones teched in to help out against warrior classes, or weapon classes.
Yeah, one of the big reasons the Cthulhu Warrior is so good is that it basically plays like a Control Warrior, and we all know that the Control Warrior has all the options to remove the tempo off the board.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kolento does have Karen, though, so he has a good chance of being able to get that guy stuck down and be super annoying with it. Just needs to find some early game curve here. He's missing the Frothings or Fierce Monkeys or Lorax, things like that that can allow him to get ahead and initially out on the board. He has all of his late game threats in his hand.
I think that's one of the powers of Cthulhu Warrior, though. They do run enough early game that they can also fight for the board in the phases where Temple Warrior is supposed to be the one ahead. Oh, Kolento still a little bit late on the draw. Picks up a Slam for cycle if necessary. You have to cycle this, otherwise you just end up armoring up and coining out a Bloodhoof, which is horrible. Well, that can't feel good. No Fiery Wind Axe. Great draw there for Kolento. He does have something to play on turn 3, so that contest, the 2 minions on board, they doesn't even die to them, so he needs to be complementing this with Slam, Fiery War Axe, Bash, Disciple of Cthulhu.
I think you just develop the 4-drop. I don't even think you need to be too defensive clearing. You also have the opportunity as StanCifka to slam trade the 2-1. It's not bad, but the 4-drop seems so clean here.
I mean, he does want to get weapons or some of his mid-game, right?
Yeah, now the 4-drop's a little bit harder to squeeze in. You could have squeezed in Slam and Disciple of Cthulhu the following turn.
I guess you don't have a turn 5, right? That's the reasoning, maybe. The turn 4 can be like a proxy turn 5. Maybe. I don't know. He gets a turn 6 with Brand plus Disciple, which is great, or wait for the Brand plus the Ancient Shieldbearer later on. Usually they can follow each other pretty well, since the Brand and the Disciple together ends up killing something, and then sometimes the Brand lives, and then you get an Ancient Shieldbearer for 20.
There you go. I like Cthulhu's Chosen again this turn. He could choose to be extra defensive and try and shield slam his Bloodhoof Brave, but if you just play the Cthulhu's Chosen, you get the Acolyte of Pain threatening to trade in, and with the Cthulhu's Chosen, remove the minion, and if that doesn't work out, you got Brand, Disciple of Cthulhu to finish it off as well.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if that didn't work. If Disciple Brand doesn't work, nothing will.
Yeah.
Like, shield blocking here is only good because you're cycling to get that later, like, more of those Cthulhu support cards.
Yeah, he's just playing so defensively, which I guess is the nature of the deck, right? He assumes as long as he negates all of the damage, he cannot die, and then he'll probably win. It's just the spacing of resources that gets a little awkward. If he uses too many resources too quickly, uses all his shield slams, all of his executes, and then all of a sudden the big minions start coming out from Kolento, he could find himself in a little bit of an awkward spot.
Right, that's one of the surprises, I think, of Temple Warrior. When you first start building it is you realize, well, I have a lot of that mid-game, but I feel like I'm going to run out of steam. But the way the deck is built is you have a lot, like the curve of Cairn, Malkorok, Grom, with Rag as well, with the Varian Rin. We've seen even Nexus, what's his name? Arc Thief Rafam played in some lists. I mean, it wins against Control very hard, because if they've been using the removal in a lot of that mid-game, which they have to, then that Arc Thief 6, and suddenly you end up with an even better board. And this is the surprise factor of Temple Warriors. You expect it to be a bad zoo, but it turns out to be a slightly more aggressive control deck with high threats. It's crazy.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Secret Paladin.
That's correct.
You got your 6, 7, 8 curve going on. It feels like the new Secret Paladin of Standard is what it feels like.
Yeah, the weight curves. I guess you're right. Yeah. And they're kind of self-playing, right? Like Malkorok, what's the strategy? Well, get a weapon and see what I do with it. What's the strategy with Rag? I don't know. Just drop it and see what happens. Varian Rin? I don't know, dude. Just drop it and see what happens. Basically, Secret Paladin all over again.
That's what it feels like to me most of the time. The early game curve is a lot more complicated with setting up outrages and things like that. But once you get towards the later stages, it feels like you just threat train people like old Secret Paladin used to do.
I never really thought about it that way. That's interesting. I like the comparison, though. I mean, you have a slam here you can cycle, which is great, as there's really nothing much that you'll be using it on. As far as the Acolyte of Pain goes, what's your plan with this?
Ignore it, hope it goes away. It can't get more draws, right? It's just guaranteed to get one. It's just simply a 1-1 at this point, so I like just taking the trade here, removing the 4-2, so your Armor Smith is uncontested, cycling that Battle Rage, getting some draws, and then you follow up your curve here. You got your 7-8, and you look for your 9, I guess, if you run it. If not, find Rag, I guess, to go with it.
You still have a good 9 with just Fierce Monkey, Bloodhoof, Fiery War Axe. So you have a proxy 9 in hand, and you can always weave in other plays with Execute, assuming threats come out on the board. So yeah, I think Kolento's in a great spot. The Brawl, however, will defuse a lot of that aggression at some point.
Yeah. It's tough. Cthulhu Warrior had a pretty good opening against the Temple Warrior here. Like, Kolento didn't have any of his great early game pressure things. Sometimes you can get frothing out early and start snowballing really hard and things like that, but Kolento... Infinite weapon
damage.
charges.
The worst part is, it looks ridiculous, but it is really good.
I don't think it's really good. It's probably not great, but...
When you get it from Al-Korok, it's definitely something that's... Like, I'd rather get Doomhammer, but if the game is meant to go long, it's definitely something I'm happy to get.
Will it even go that long, though? StanCifka's in pretty decent spot here.
Wait, if you play Bran Harrison, do you draw twice?
I don't know, I've never
Or do
done
you
it.
destroy their weapon twice?
I think we're holding on to Bran here at StanCifka just for those Twin Emperors, get the triplets going on. Your opponent does not run Brawl. Temple Warrior is not a deck that has ever really been known to run Brawl, and if you make that play happen, it seems very unlikely that you're able to lose the game.
And it's double Brawl in hand as well. Another one of the situations where you're probably safe against pressure. I mean, it's 48 health.
Yeah.
You know, I'm feeling kind of confident I can stay alive for a few more turns.
Yeah. No single target removal in hand, though, so maybe Kolento can get a situation where Grom gets stuck down or things like that, but it looks like he's going to be using it here to remove the 5-4 to keep his 6-5 alive, and that's going to walk right into a Brawl for StanCifka.
It does, but at the same time, if the Grom lives, or the 6-5, Kolento still keeps a board, right? He still keeps something semi-relevant. Although now with the War Axe, he can use the War Axe and the Blood to Ichor to get rid of Grom if he wants to. The Brand plus buff, like double hit on the Grom, could also kill it. Double bust Cthulhu. And it leaves a pretty weak minion on board.
Yeah, all things considered, probably not the best minion to win the Brawl there for Kolento.
Man, this 2-2 is just annoying enough. So your turn 9 is pretty much set for. You play Tentacles for Arms with Blood of Brave. Found the play.
Well, yeah, you're not too happy when that's your best play.
Don't mess around with the Tentacles.
Well, Kolento has Varian going for him, and sometimes Varian can win games, so he's hoping that to be the case, but StanCifka has the second Brawl already, so we know Varian's not going to be too impactful.
And double Twin Emperors coming out of there. You got Veclor bringing out his twin twice.
And now if Kolento goes for Varian, that means Brand sticking around for Brand Cthulhu.
I think you might have to... I mean, how do you even play this turn? I mean, if you were going for a double execute play, you can go Whirlwind, trade... You can wipe off the board with double execute, but that means Cthulhu comes down and you have no more executes left. And then you have to stall with Fierce Monkeys.
Can you ever win if Cthulhu comes down is what you have to ask yourself, though.
Right.
Like, even if you hold the execute for Cthulhu, are you going to win the game? And I don't think Kolento's in a position where he's going to win the game if he holds an execute for Cthulhu. So I do not mind clearing the entire board here, using all of your resources and just one last big hurrah to try and close out this game. You need to be the aggressive deck. Your opponent has inevitability on you, and I think you got to go for it. And we see him go for it here.
Yeah, I mean, he does keep the Blood of Brave at exactly 1 health at the end of that sequence. And he gets a 2-2, and he puts the monkey down with the Armor Smith, so he gets a board, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but knowing what's coming... Varian Rin, like, let's assume Cthulhu comes out. Is there a Fierce Monkey left, or have we seen the first one already? I think we've already caught that one.
Yeah, the first Fierce Monkey, I believe, was played earlier on in the game, but I could be mistaken. So much Warrior games blending together, man. The Brawl comes out for StanCifka. Kolento is able to now play Varian with both brawls gone, so...
It's pretty positive, but again, the Armor Smith comes out of the brawl. Seems like Kit Kats was right all along. Armor Smith always wins the brawl.
Yeah.
Not always good for you, but he always wins it.
And StanCifka gets to buff this Cthulhu by 4 more now. Holy smokes.
That's a really big Cthulhu. Considering Cthulhu Warrior is not known for the ability to buff the Cthulhu too high, 14-14 is the standard, 16-16 occasionally, and then when you get a brand buff, is about the end of it.
Yeah, so it's like almost max size possible Cthulhu. He's just missing 1 Cthulhu buff card, and then it would be all the way there. He just has another Chosen in the deck.
Alright, War Axe is not what he wants. Ragnaros could be it, and he picks up Korkron Elite and Arati Weaponsmith. Korkron's not half bad, as it initiates trades, but the fact that something will stick around means that Varian Rin is vulnerable to execute, and that sucks. Even though there's the Ghoul in hand, Kolento knows for a fact that the executes are likely to come out here, so... Yep, let's go in.
Yeah, he's got to start getting that face damage in sometime.
Not much of a choice here. He does get a full clear with just the Unstable Ghoul. The Ravaging Ghoul with the execute. I keep saying Unstable Ghoul. I don't know why.
Yeah. He gets to trade in the 2-1 into the 4-3, slam the 3-3, play the Ghoul, execute the 7-7, keep his 2-2 on the board, and have full board control and draw a card.
Yeah, that's the power of Cthulhu Warrior. It plays very much like Control Warrior, and these tempo decks don't really run... Like, you remember how mid-range Druid used to have sticky minions around in GVG Nax? Like, that's no longer the case. Tempo Warrior has minions that have 1 lifespan, and if you deal with them, get good brawls, you can definitely 4-for-1 them a lot of the time. And when that happens, there's really nothing the Warrior can do. It's just the way the Tempo Warrior is built up. But the amount of damage the Kolento had lined up looked like they could have put a ton of pressure. The double brawl was way too much.
Yeah, it really just comes down to the early game, though. Kolento's early game did not push any damage or put any pressure on StanCifka, and it just allowed him to casually walk into this late game period where Cthulhu Warrior really just shines. And now Kolento's drawing all of his early game cards. He's drawing both Fiery Works and both Acolyte of Pains, things that would have been a welcome sight earlier on in the game, and they're just not good enough now.
Yeah, Cthulhu coming down here would still draw Kolento a ton of cards, but no executes left me. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Just drop the Cthulhu, end the game. Kolento will not try execute. He used both of them in sort of an all-in attempt to try and siege the board, but StanCifka going to be super patient, try and guarantee that his Cthulhu actually kills some important minions, try and deny the card draw from Kolento a little bit, just in case there's a random Deathwing in Kolento's deck or something.
You know what? I think I've seen a few people play that in Temple Warrior, funny enough.
Yeah.
They were laughing about it, but it is a card that you could technically put in. But, I mean, it's not something I expect.
No. Well, Kolento can kill the Emperor here if he wants to do so.
You draw 2 cards in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Not too bad. That Cthulhu. Another Frauding comes out. Actually, this double Frauding turn, like if the Cthulhu ends up like buffing them to exactly, imagine that. Can you picture this?
It hits them both 3 times.
Right, and then just leaves them alive, having taken exactly enough to survive. And the Blood to Ichor comes out to clean up the entire board. That Cthulhu.
All right, this could be.
No way. There's no way. There's no way fire that. This can't happen.
There's a chance. There's a chance. If it hits them both 3 times, and the Ghoul twice, and the rest goes space. Oh, Shield Slam can clear off 1.
Yeah, 1 is dead, then he attacks with the axe into the other, and that's GG. Doesn't matter how I look at this.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it's...
I was really hoping. That would have been an epic finish.
Right. StanCifka would equalize the series on the back. I mean, Kolento would end up going 4-3 on the back of a 4-2 on the back of a Frauding Berserker, just being buffed at no end. Like, how much would they have been buffed by total? So they would have both been buffed by +6 each, right?
Yeah, they could have been buffed by 8 missiles.
Eight
and
missiles
still leave
each,
every minion intact potentially. So that would have been 16 additional damage. So,
yep.
And they were already at 6, so it still wouldn't have been enough.
And 3 health left against the Cthulhu and no execute. It sounds like the game is over.
Mm-hmm.
And the equalization of the series there by Cifka, he's going to get to to play his last deck here against Kolento's Tempo Warrior. We mentioned how that could be the problem deck. Like Hunter and Tempo Warrior seemed a little bit difficult to win with. The Shaman list, how do you feel about that last match, that last game they've got going on?
Well, this is the closest of all of them so far, really. Against the Kolento's Tempo Warrior, the Shaman has the lowest favorability, I guess, over Tempo Warrior. I'd still say it's Shaman favored, but not by nearly as much as Cthulhu Warrior or Cthulhu Priest, I guess, seemed. So it could be a little bit harder for StanCifka. He still has an edge. And yeah, usually you bring Tempo Warrior because eventually it gets a win somehow, even against unfavorable matchups. It's just one of those decks that eventually draws nutty and gets a win. And it hasn't worked out for Kolento thus far. Maybe he's able to make it work out in this one.
I feel like it's going to be again, it's one of those scenarios where the win rate of the deck individually almost doesn't matter because you're almost guaranteed to get one of those wins. But StanCifka's got the two decks he played prior to this were so good against the Warrior from Kolento. The Shaman could lock it out, but again, it's going to come down to whether or not the Warrior gets that early game. He's been struggling to find out War Axes on curve to handle his opponent's minions as his comes out.
We can actually trace this back kind of like some of the mulligan strategy for Kolento may have been putting him at a slight disadvantage. We saw him keep Karen in both of his matchups, against the Priest and against the Cthulhu Warrior. He kept Karen both times, and both times missed his early game curve, had no action going on. He had Karen on 6, which was awesome, helped him a lot in the middle stages of the game, but not having the early game pressure made it so his game plan was just a little bit too slow to really get rolling. And StanCifka's decks actually had board control going into Kolento's turn 6, which is kind of crazy when you think about them being the super slow passive control decks. So maybe being a little bit too greedy on the mulligans could be costing Kolento some percentages there. It's really hard to tell because you do want to.
I kind of like that. You do need the weapons against Priest either, right? Like you want Karen, but you do need the weapons even more sometimes.
Even just
all the time, pretty
three
much.
drops, really, too.
Yeah.
He's been missing the Frothing Berserkers or the Fierce Monkeys on curve and things like that. So there's ups and downs to the strategy, right? And he's taking risks and not being rewarded for his risks. So in hindsight, us looking at it, it seems like not the greatest idea in the world. But if it pans out and he gets the curve and Karen, and he has 3 tries to do that, and it works out one of those 3 tries, it looks awesome. And there you go. But it's really a numbers game, right? Figuring out the odds of that to happen. How often do you hit your early game curve while also keeping greedy minions that are favored in the control matchup? So it's a strategy. Hasn't been working out for Kolento yet.
Well, StanCifka seems overhyped about something. I'm not sure what. I guess he just wet his hair and he's ready to fight off that last game of the day. This is going to be deciding who goes through out of the last chance bracket. This is the last game, last match, and StanCifka is stretching, closing the door, getting ready.
Yeah.
This guy's hyped.
I don't know what StanCifka keeps doing. He keeps leaving the room and coming back wet, smiling. It's.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, I don't really want to know what he's doing.
I don't want to know what's happening out there, but it looks fun. So
yeah, he's definitely.
Maybe one day he's gonna invite you.
Okay. I don't know if I want to join him where that.
It's not a choice, Firebat. All right, so we got the Warrior here against the Shaman. This is a mid-range Shaman, relying, of course, on typical play on curve, eventually Storm, solidify your board, Thunderblood Valiant win. Both hands for players, I think, they're pretty good. The upside of having 2 goals instead of 1 is that they actually work in tandem, assuming you don't run into Healing Totem, if you can chain them one after the other.
Yeah, could be pretty powerful. Not having the War X, though, that really hurts. That's the most important thing in this matchup by far. Just being able to get the Shaman off the board turns 1 and 2 is just absolutely crucial. Just make sure that you can deny them from beginning their snowball. So no War X for Kolento. Could be painful. Doesn't pick it up the first draw. He has another try.
Worse yet. I mean, StanCifka not only has the Totem Golem, but he's also got the Tunnel Chog. So one of the plays that you could see here instead of Tunnel Chog is just coin Totem Golem because he's got the 1-drops to follow it up with. But the fact that he picked up a second 1-drop kind of makes me I guess you want to play Totemic on 3 though.
Yeah.
In
order to play Totemic on 3, you have to coin Totem Golem here, follow it up with the 1-drop, and then you're unoverloaded for turn 3 so that you can then play your Tuskar Totemic. And I think that's the strongest way to play this curve. But StanCifka disagrees, and we're going to see how it works out for him. Tunnel Chog is really great if your opponent doesn't have a War X. If they have a War X, though, you just kind of wasted your turn.
Well, looks like the Tunnel Chug comes out solo. I'm assuming he's going to be going for the coin play here, but that means he's going to. He's going to keep the coin that is for Tuskar Totemic on turn 3 without playing Ardent Squire for a little while.
Yeah.
That's the general way this goes.
Pretty good here. We can see maybe the bump come out. What does the bump play around? There's no Cruel Taskmasters in Warrior anymore.
Doesn't play around Bloodtaker for sure. Doesn't play around Ghoul either. Yeah, maybe a little bit War Axe, but it really plays into Ravaging Ghoul way too much is the issue. Because like the Ghoul contest, you're 3/3 that's left over. So that bump feels like perhaps a bit of a needless sacrifice. I'm not sure though. Maybe there's a point to it that I'm not spotting.
Yeah, we haven't seen Cruel Taskmaster from Kolento or Inner Rages or anything like that would allow the favorable trade up. So I'm kind of curious about it. It does play around War Axe a little bit though, but is it worth it to then play into Ghoul a little bit?
Tough to say. Let's see what the Tuskar Totemic brings out. That could be game making, and look at that. Look at that. One of the big weaknesses of a warrior without War Axe is I can't kill your minions. Worse now, I can't even kill your card engine. That is usually just the end of it as far as the card advantage war goes.
Yeah, Tuskar Totemic wins another game.
What I like about this card is the fact that it's got a 42% chance to get you 3 of the best cards in the class. Feels good, man.
Yeah, it's really good. You either get Totem Golem, one of the most influential cards in the entire deck, or Mana Tide, or Flame Tongue. All of them just absolutely some of the strongest Shaman cards that you build your entire deck around them. You can get them for free with a Battle Cry and snowball games behind it.
And you also get your thing from below cheapened. So if you guys are into winning, you might want to consider playing Tuskar Totemic.
Played in every variant of Shaman nowadays, right? So
I think so, yeah. I think I've seen it just about everywhere. Kolento is going to have to hope somehow that the Battle Rage card draw over the next 2 turns is going to be enough, but just based on this, StanCifka's had already 2 draws from the Mana Tide. He's going to get another one, gets a really clean trade here, keeps the Mana Tide protected from anything like a War Axe that would come out. He even starts going face. Primal Fusion could be used here to buff up the Mana Tide even further if he wants. He can do just about everything he wants. It's nearly impossible for Kolento to push him off this.
Yeah, Kolento needs to maybe find and execute the Mana Tide totem that's already drawn 3 cards. So... Ugh. Scalding
is unfortunately not quite enough. He probably will have to go for the Acolyte Ghoul, or do you see an alternative? Would you play Frothing here instead, given that it dies to...
Well, you could try and play Frothing and Ghoul to maybe set up a situation where Malkarak could potentially clear off the Mana Tide totem if your opponent doesn't have removal. It's, if it gets like 2 more cards, you probably have 0% chance of winning this game. It's just too much card advantage for your opponent.
Alright, the execute is there, so next turn might be the turn where the Mana Tide finally stops drawing after, what, a decade? I'm not sure, I've lost track.
Yeah, you get to spend a card to be able to kill a card that's already drawn 4 cards that isn't really even a card your opponent played, it's a Battle Cry of a card.
So the thing with this card, that it's a card, and a card is a pretty good card. When your opponent plays a card...
What are you talking about?
Yeah, you haven't memed enough. You haven't memed enough. You need to be on Reddit more. That's what you have to do. I'm sorry, Crybat.
Okay.
It's okay.
I wasn't keeping up with your cards.
There's a lot of cards.
How many?
Right now, 6. About to be 7.
Yeah, that's a lot of cards.
For a Shaman that played literally 0 card engine. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, he hasn't played any card draw cards, technically. He's just played Tuskar Totemic.
Yeah. Well, as it says, it looks like StanCifka is going to be able to do what he wants. Primal Fusion... So here's what's cool about this Primal Fusion, is it protects your Flame Tongue Totem by virtue of you knowing if there were a way for them to kill it, they would still prefer to execute your Mana Tide. So my question is, does Kolento have to give up on the idea of killing that Mana Tide and find something else to do?
Even if he kills it, there's another one.
It's Mana Tides all the way down. Oh man, you can't escape it.
Even if he had a Brawl, I think StanCifka's generated so much value off this Mana Tide that he's ahead still.
So he's played 2 ghouls, which means there's no way he can clear this up. If the board stays as it is, then he can't put more stuff on the board, which is good because it's a 7. Whirlwind will clean up a little bit of that, and you can execute the 7/5. You can even play the Wrathy Weaponsmith next turn if you want. You can also play Frothing this turn and remove a lot of the threats on the board. What do you think? I mean, that's pretty much the only way you get out of this, right?
Yeah, you have to probably execute the taunt, which doesn't seem good. And then you're faced with Stoneclaw Totem too, and it's buffed by Flame Tongue, so the totems are still being protected from weapons, and it's impossible for you to get at that Flame Tongue and that Manatide.
Yeah, on the flip side though, your Frothing has 3 health left, which means the 2/2, the 2/2 gold totem doesn't kill it, and the Manatide either, so you could technically do it if you wanted to keep the execution.
Okay. I like this play. You set up the Wrathy Weaponsmith and is killing the
totem. Yeah.
The totem with it. This way he can use Execute to be able to get through all the taunts and be able to actually weapon down some of these totems in the following turn. Actually fight back on the board. There's a chance. And now Thunder Bluff's going to come out and ruin it.
There was a chance.
Yeah, it's gone now.
There is a lot.
I like your pessimism.
Maybe some. No, you can't rag snipe and do it.
Malkorog can Malkorog do silly things? Death Bite is not an option anymore. Not that it won't do anything with the healing totem.
Value trade the 7/4 into the 3/3 even. You got the healing totem.
You got the healing totem, and you're preventing some kind of. I could see that, but then again, I mean, Kolento knows better than this. He knows the Manatide has drawn 6 cards or 5 cards over the course of a very short game is going to lock him out of this. So after this long day and grueling series, Kolento is going to be out, and StanCifka will go onwards and come back in through the last chance bracket. So Kolento's run, Kranj's run, and Oskaka's run are all done.
Yeah, StanCifka is advancing through the last chance qualifier on the back of his Cthulhu Priest. And, he's able to take down Kolento twice. So no joke there. StanCifka's lineup definitely proving to be very strong and well-deserved. Even though the last game there was kind of gimmicky on the back of the Tuskar Totemic, it's the second time he's beaten Kolento today, so obviously no joke.
It doesn't mean, exactly, it doesn't mean he wouldn't have won otherwise. It's just that facilitated the process a lot. His hand was still amazing quality. Everything in there was pretty good. It's just a matter of seeing whether or not Kolento would have been able to defend against it otherwise. That being said, we will be done for the day, guys. We'll be back tomorrow at the exact same time. So we'll see you then. So thanks for watching from everyone at StarLadder and iLeague. Have a good night.
Of the ones from long ago. There's an evil that's been dreaming, but now it's softly screaming. From the darkness, their power will grow. Their voices are made of poison. When you listen, you are sure to be disturbed. You can lock your doors. You can say your prayers. No creature can resist their wicked words. Never mind, no need to worry. That's all just a story of the whispers of the old gods.